Hey guys, welcome into. Ooh, that was probably loud. Let's try again. Hey guys, welcome into our org meeting. I'm going to try and make this quick. I accidentally made a mistake whenever I was doing the original recording and my audio wasn't picking up, so I have to redo the whole thing. But we're going to go through it. I'll try and make it under 15 minutes. I want to introduce myself, introduce the other people that are going to be on staff, and then I want to go through some of the expectations I have for you guys as players and what we're going to be providing to you as an org, so what you can expect from us. And then I want to talk about how we're going to handle different issues within the org, and then talk about some of the internal activities we want to do or are going to be provided or we're going to be doing. And then lastly, I want to talk about college recruiting and then close things up. The questions that were asked, I'll talk about them when they come up, but there were questions that were asked by players in the meeting. Really only one major thing that was brought up, and I think it's of value to discuss. There's also one other thing that I made this morning. So today is Memorial Day. I made it this morning for the org, so I'll talk about that as well and some of the provisions. Let's get started. I'm Sly. So those of you that don't know me, I am 29. I'm from Oklahoma City originally. I live in Phoenix, Arizona now. I played college football at Wheaton College, which is in Chicago. Played there for 4 years and then became a defensive coordinator at a high school for a few years before going to law school. Here, I started out at Oklahoma City University. Then I transferred to Arizona State, which is a top 25 law school. It was an awesome opportunity, and I'm really happy I did it. So now I'm here in Phoenix working as a judge. I do administrative law judge work, which means I get to do a lot of my hearings over the phone, online, and doing all my work online and being able to submit my decisions and dispositions through some computer programs, so I don't actually have to sit in a courtroom all day. I get to hang out with my dog, message you guys back on Discord, you goofballs. So that's pretty much the whole thing about me. I want to talk about a little bit of the staff. So this is our staff. Up in the top right is Benji. Benji is pretty much the go-to guy for anything you need help with in the org. He's a baller. He does a lot of work. He's very smart, and he can do anything that I can do within the Discord itself. So if you have problems or need anything, he can help you as well. But the hierarchy for each of you should be going straight to your staff and then to me if you're not able to get it resolved through staff. So the order of operations is going to be go to staff, then go to Benji or Sly. Okay. On the bottom left is Josh, aka Gilash. He's a baller. He's going to be overseeing courage and sincerity. Then we have Jess, that's her foot pick. Sorry. Jess, and she's going to be seeing ambition, helping with ambition, and so Josh is going to be doing courage and humility, and then Jess is going to be doing ambition and sincerity. And then lastly, we have Kat, who is going to be overseeing and coaching justice. So Kat is going to be in a special situation where we're going to enable him to do a lot of the captain's work, staff work, and coaching role all in like one bundle, which is a lot of stuff for him. So it's more of a trial. We're going to see how it works, make sure that he does a great job wearing all those different hats. And I have great expectations for him. He's going to be the only coach within the org, and I think he knows his stuff, so I'm excited to see what he can do, how he can provide, and enable our justice to get better, be a better team. So that's all of the staff and administration. For expectations, you are each chosen because I genuinely believe that you are a top 10% player in your ELO. At your respective positions. So that means that I think Ginger is a top 10% D1 mid. I think that Goblin is a top 10% Plat 1 mid. I think that, Cloud is a top 10% D3 support. I think Panda is a top 10% D3 ADC. I genuinely believe that. And the expectation for those of you who don't have finished rosters is that your players are going to be the ones who are brought in are going to be top 10%. And if they're not going to be on our team. So when you're going through tryouts, trying out players, that's the first question you should be asking. You should be thinking, is this tryout a top 10% player for what we're trying him out for and for the MMR cap of our team? If he's not, then he shouldn't be on your team. And that goes for not only player skill, but communication, decision-making, personality. Because if someone doesn't have the personality to be able to interact with their teammates, then that doesn't mean they're top 10%. That means they're trash. They shouldn't be on your team. They're not worth us giving them a spot on our teams. So as an org, we're championship driven. What that means is you have winning expectations. You should now that I don't have championship expectations. So don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that if you don't win first, then you're useless. I don't believe that at all. But what that does mean is that every team should be hitting a certain win percentage. For the lower elo teams, aka Sincerity, maybe some of the lower diamond teams, they should be winning at about a 75 to 80% win rate. That's because Plat is trash, and they should be able to completely dominate their opponents in that MMR. So the expectation is about 75%. For each, as it goes up higher, such as Courage, about a 60 to 65% win rate is my expectations for Courage. So obviously that means playoffs is an expectation. But once we make it into playoffs, and we should be dominating playoffs because we're that good. But it doesn't mean that if you don't perform well in playoffs, I'm going to disband the team. It does mean that if you're at a 40% win rate throughout the regular season, you're on the chopping block. Like you need to understand that. So that means you're not performing at a top 10% at each of your elos. So we'll take that into consideration, and we'll evaluate teams if you are performing under expectations. And if you have any questions about what the expectations is for your team, feel free to ask me. Another thing about VG is that I want us all doing everything the right way. That means we're never cheating. We're never doing anything that's sketch. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't play the rules, because I am very okay with abiding by the rules tightly. Don't think I'm not named Sly for no reason. But we are doing things the right way. That means that we're not ever blatantly cheating or doing anything close to cheating, honestly. We're not ever treating people outside of the org in a way that would be disrespectful. Or even within the org, obviously. That definitely applies to within the org. So one of the things that we had a discussion about this week was just about the things that we make jokes about and in public. And we need to be really mindful that everything that you do not only represents yourself, but it also represents the rest of the org. And it definitely vicariously, affects me. It represents me. So when you do something that is sketchy, it impacts Sly. And that's going to be a problem. So there are things that I'm okay with. There are things I'm not okay with. And you need to be very considerable about all of your actions that are public, especially in leagues. And I think I'm specifically thinking about trash talk and anything that you post in those leagues. Lastly, I want to make sure that you're taking personal responsibility for your own actions. This is a huge thing for me that I have an expectation for all the players. And I'm going to cut real quick so that you can see an example. This is a clip from one of the scrims that Courage just recently had, where I think Ginger really demonstrates what my expectations are for each of you as players when you make mistakes. So I'll go ahead and roll the clip.
Oh, 3 people dove me. That was fun.
Yeah. Be like that. Kind of got pincered.
Look at me, mid.
Trying to run.
Oh,
My lord. Okay.
my
Half your
fault.
health.
A lot more damage than I thought it would. I underestimated that a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I got hit by the middle of the Everfrost when I shouldn't have. It's just my bad. Mechanical misplay.
So here, Ginger ends up making a mistake. He does something that he shouldn't have been doing. He was overextending, not really respecting the Vigar, and he ends up dying for it. And rather than blaming, why does Vigar have this item, or, oh, man, what are they doing? Why are they overextending here? Or blaming anything on his teammates or the game, he accepts personal responsibility for making a mistake. He says, this is my fault. I won't do that again. That's my fault. I will learn from that mistake. I accept responsibility for my actions. You should be doing the same. And if you're constantly blaming other people or the game or something that's not yourself for the mistakes that you make, that is a problem with our org. Because a big part of growing up, being an adult, is accepting responsibilities for your actions. I used to have a defensive coordinator who would always tell us, reject passivity, accept responsibility, Show yourself a man. That was a motto for our defense whenever I was in college, like the whole way through. Reject passivity. Don't be passive and allow things to go by without you asserting dominance or asserting control over them. Accept responsibility. When you make mistakes, own up to it. And show yourself a man. Go ahead and put yourself forward. Take control of your life and do things the way that with the masculinity that you should have. I think that really applies well to League. And I don't want you guys, as soon as you start doing that, you're not only doing a disservice to your team, but you're to yourself. And it hurts us as an organization. So be very mindful of what you blame and be willing to accept responsibility for your mistakes. Provisions. We're going to be providing you with 3 to 4 scrims per week. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it'll be scrims per se. They may be VOD reviews. They may be blitz scrims. They may be one-on-one work. It may be something else. But 3 to 4 practices of some sort or include a game into that practice type of schedule per week. You should expect that. We're going to make sure that we have everything organized for you so that you can just show up, worry about playing, and that's it. You're going to have the structure and scheduling. You're going to have a set schedule. You're going to have a set structure of how we're going to do things every week. You're going to know exactly what's going on and feel confident that those schedules are going to be maintained. We're going to give you guys API stat tracking for scrims. So that means that for every scrim that you have, we're going to have reports on that. You're going to be able to have it input into a database. That database is going to pull all of our stats, and you're going to be able to have access to how you've been performing over every scrim combined. I need to move my thing real quick. So we're going to be able to move you into, into a special data, like a Excel sheet. So you'll be able to see, okay, how much have I been creating farm differential between my farm opponent or my lane opponent? How much have I been CSing on average? And then you'll be able to look at it champion specific once we get a little bit more advanced into our coding on it. You'll be able to look at like, hey, how is my Varus ADC doing? How is my Oriana mid doing? How is my Graves farm looking? All that sort of stuff. How dominant have I been with my Dragon Control whenever I've been playing this specific champion? You'll be able to see all of those things in our records from the API, which is going to be awesome. It's something new. I've never done it before, and I'm really excited to be able to implement it. As far as name change goes, that's something you need to talk to me about. I talked earlier about you representing us, so if I allow you to do a name change, which I love, I think name changes are cool. I think everyone being in VG is cool, but it's also not required. I don't really care whether or not you want to do it or not. If you do, awesome. If you don't, that's fine too. However, if you have VG in your name, that means that all of the expectations I have for you representing me and like the org to other orgs, other leagues, whatnot, that applies to you in solo queue as well. So if you're acting, not to say names, but if you're acting in a way that could get you banned, that's problematic. That means you're treating people in a way that you shouldn't be. So I want you to take that into consideration before asking me if you can do a name change. And if you want a name change, and I think you're an appropriate fit for that, and I think that's acceptable, then I'm willing to pay for it if you don't have the blue essence. So talk to me about that. I will definitely be covering league entrances. We have a set financial structure that we talked about without naming any names. Someone brought it up in conversation in the actual meeting that we had, and the numbers that I was looking at once we did the math were absurd. So we worked out something that the goal for covering league entrances is I don't think you guys should have to pay. I think that you guys should be incentivized. I want you guys to be able to get some sort of payout for winning. I think that's awesome. I do think that the org needs to be reimbursed, and then we need to build a little bit. So the idea of the payout structure is that the org always gets reimbursed from the winnings, and then we make a little bit of a step forward with the earnings too to be able to put back into the org bank so that we can continue paying for everything, and we don't have to worry about it. Should be self-sustaining. I shouldn't have to be injecting money into the org every single time. And the more that we can develop into the funds, the more that we can get you guys into more leagues. You can pay for fun stuff. You can do different things like that. So that's something that I want to do and consider. But if you have questions about the payout structure for winnings, that's something that we can talk about. Benji drew up an actual Excel sheet that does all the math for us. Lastly, coaching. Obviously, I'm bringing in Cat for Justice. I'm down to bring in more coaches if we think we can find the right fit. I've never had a good experience with coaching at all in League of Legends. I've been coached by 2 or 3 guys. I've seen other teams get coached by about 4 or 5 guys. Not a single one of them do I think were very good. And this is coming from a perspective where I coached at a high school level very well for 2 years as a defense coordinator. So just the actual personality of coaching is like a whole thing. And I don't think I've ever seen anyone with a good coaching personality, let alone providing the things that I think should be provided by a coaching staff. Now, Coach Cat has walked me through how he's going to coach Justice, and I think that what he said it sounds about right, like what I would expect for people to do. So we're going to be kind of experimenting with that. Most of the teams that I've talked to, the captains, they don't want coaches. So if your team does want coaches, that's something that you need to talk to your captain about, or you need to talk to me, or we all need to have a sit down with your team. So it's not off the table, but it's not going to be given unless we really feel like we need it. Handling potential issues. If you're late for scrims regularly, that's a major issue. That shouldn't happen. And if you're going to be late, you need to tell your captain that you're going to be late, or your whole team in your chat. You should at your whole team be like, hey guys, I'm running late. I'm going to be 5-10 minutes late. Or, hey, I'm running late. I'm going to miss the whole first game. You're going to need to find us up. And you need to tell them well beforehand. If it's a last minute thing, then tell them as soon as you can. You should have the Discord app on your phone. There's no one in this org that should not have the Discord app on their phone. And you can have all the notifications muted on your phone because that can be annoying, but there's no reason you shouldn't have it on your phone and be able to communicate with us whenever we need to get a hold of you. As for no-showing, this is completely unacceptable. There's no reason you should be no-showing for games, scrims, anything that you're supposed to be at. You should be telling your team, hey, I'm not going to be there beforehand. They should know. If you no-show, that's not acceptable. That can get you kicked out of the org. So it can be being late all the time, but you'll get warnings for being late. You'll get a warning for no-showing. If you no-show without telling anybody, not acceptable. If you no-show without telling anyone because of a very, very good reason, such as, hey, I broke my arm, I had to go to the hospital. Hey, my brother had a cardiac issue. We had to get him to the hospital. Or my grandma passed away and we had to go over to their house. Those are good reasons. I had to go get Taco Bell, not a good reason. I had to work slightly late, not a good reason, because you should be informing it's not a good reason not to show up. It's not a good reason not to be able to tell everyone that you weren't going to be able to show up. Does that make sense? So if you're going to no-show, people need to know. As for team turmoil, this is something that should be addressed through your captain. If you have a grievance with one of your team members, that should be addressed to your captain. If it involves your captain, go ahead and bump it up to me or Benji. That's something that should be made aware of. Okay? There's no reason that we should ever have something that's so tumultuous, so problematic, so chaotic, so makes you so angry that we have a serious issue on the team. So we need to be able to sit down, talk about it rationally, resolve things. You need to be rational whenever we come to the table to talk about those things too. Can't be super prideful and a turd about things, okay? Because we're a team ultimately, and we need to be able to work together. And you need to be a personality that's willing to forgive and move on from issues and adapt to and resolve the things, fix the things that are creating the problems. As for quitting or stepping down, this is a conversation you need to have with me directly. I mean, you can talk to your captain about it, but ultimately you need to tell me what are the issues, why you feel like you need to quit or you want to quit, and why you're stepping down. And then we can talk through things and see if we can fix them first before we end up parting ways. But that I expect that to happen. It's going to. If you have any other issues that are similar to this, that are major issues, go to your captain first, go to your staff member first, one of those two. And if they're not an appropriate person to talk to, you feel like I need to just talk to Slide, that's fine. Come straight to me if you need to. But overall, there should be a hierarchy to these things. And captains, as far as late and no-showing, you should be telling me that. If somebody's late consistently or no-showing consistently, or no-shows at all, quite honestly, without letting you know, that needs to be told to me. Internal activities. We're going to try and do some movie nights. We're going to try and do some ARAM tournaments more than likely amongst the teams. Could be fun. Could be in-house where we mix up the teams, just kind of goofing. Internal blitz scrims. That's something I actually want to do more so for improvement purposes, not so much for anything else. I just think that walking through the lane phase and like the early game map movements and macros will be really valuable for our teams. In-houses, I would love to do some in-houses, mix up the teams. I think that's a good way to improve our communication, improve our understanding of the game. And then I'm always down for whatever non-link fun. So if we can play that stupid dodgeball game, we can play Phasmophobia, whatever other games you guys want to play. If we want to make announcements about that stuff, I'm not going to organize a ton of this stuff, maybe the blitz scrims and the actual stuff for improving the teams. But if you guys want to do that, if that's something that's like on your heart, oh man, I really love playing this game, let's get some people involved, let me know. We'll set something up, we'll plan it out, we'll end up making some announcements in the org and try and get some other people involved, especially for some of the stuff that's more low-key. Lastly, college recruiting. If you're a player of age where college recruiting could be something for you, that's something on the table for you and you want to do it, let me know. I want to enable you to be able to play at a college level. There's tons of college esports money, scholarship money out there. And there's no reason that people, if you're in my org, you should be able to play in the college scene. I have no doubt about it, no matter what your elo is. If you're above Plat 1, I think we can get you onto a team. So, and that should be everybody. So, just about. So hit me up. Let's talk about that and let's get things going. Other than that, I don't think that there was anything else that was brought up in the meeting. If you have any questions to me about some of the stuff, or you think there was something that I should have addressed that I didn't, hit me up in some DMs, or you can even at me in the general chat and we can have a discussion about it. All right. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.